Good morning, everybody. I hope you have your coffee this morning. Mm. Ah, Salam. How are you this morning? Hi, Lisa, Harley. Oh my gosh, Glenn Jackson. Oh, so excited. Trying to get this up here. Got this little setup, but I really wanted this down a little bit further, but I like using my iPad because I can actually read the writing on the screen. Hi, everybody. Hey, TT. Let's see. I need you, TT. Go live with the Global Man. I am Maggie Earl, something like that. Okay, you guys got to give us a minute because you know the technology is not a perfect science. I say it all the time. So, hi TT, I'm trying to bring you on. Go live with. Oh, you were under the wrong name. Okay, hold on. There we go. Let's see what happens now. Oh, there you are.
Good morning.
You look fabulous, TT.
Thank you. I learned from the best.
Oh, stop it. I am wearing my no makeup look. Of course, it's only 7 o'clock in the morning here, and it's 10 o'clock in the morning where you are.
Right.
But it looks like we got quite a few people on here that
Good morning, everyone.
would love to talk about this topic. So we're not going to waste any time. Now, you guys, if you guys don't know, ever since my surgery on my tonsils, I have sometimes I get a little congestion in my throat. We're not going to let that stop us though. So let us start with the introduction because I'm very excited to be here to introduce Tita Lio to you guys. I don't know how many of you know Tita Lio. She is the global manicurist, and Tita Lio works on mostly print advertising, editorial, TV commercials, and celebrities. And she also does some runway. Some of the things that she's worked on that you would recognize are clients like Kenneth Cole, Capital One, Coca-Cola, Etsy, on magazines like Essence, Italian Vanity Fair, El Mexico, Cosmopolitan, and Amica. And some of the celebrities that she's had the pleasure of working with include, but are not limited to, Trisha Yearwood, Rick Ross, Kelly Rowland, Liv Tyler, and Uma Thurman. Some of the runway shows TT has worked on are Kate Spade, my favorite Alexander Wang. I'm still wearing that black dress to death. Cynthia Rowley, Narcisco Rodriguez, DKNY, and Donna Karen. Remember, they're not the same. Diane von Furstenberg, Caroline Herrera, and Nicole Miller, just to mention a few. I am Crystal Wright. I am a former celebrity styling agent in Los Angeles and New York. I represented lots of very fabulous artists and worked on many amazing things as well. We did everything from United Airlines to the Monique Lhuillier bridal campaign to Snoop Dogg to American Airlines to beer to Alec Baldwin to Drew Barrymore, and I can never remember her name from Scandal. Who's the sister on Scandal? I'm like, I don't know why I always forget her name. But anyway, we've worked with lots and lots and lots of people. And I represented artists in LA and New York for over 2 decades, 32 years. Okay. And now I'm a coach.
She said Kerry Washington.
Kerry Washington, yes, Kerry Washington. Thank you very much. And Denzel. Denzel, I think, was my first celebrity when I was representing Bobby Holland. So anyway, I know you guys like to hear all that stuff because you're like, well, who are these people anyway? Who have they worked with? What have they done? So there you go. There's a very, very short list of some of the people that we've worked with. I see a lot of people here that I know. And thank you, Allegra. Allegra said Kerry Washington too. Malent's Beauty. There's our baby. You know, Malent's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shira.
Shira is here and Dominique is here. So wonderful, you guys. We're not gonna just go on talking about ourselves. So today we want to talk about fees and fear, breaking the cycle of accepting less than you think you deserve, less than you want. And it's all wrapped up in asking. Everything is about asking. You have not because you ask not. I realize that it's very difficult, but I didn't realize until TT and I were having a conversation the other day where the difficulty came from. And I asked TT if we could do this together because I know that TT is not the only person who's experiencing the fear of asking for what she deserves. And there are some other issues too, and we're going to discuss them. One of the questions that I asked in my Instagram story was, what is your fear around asking for a fair fee? I want everybody who's on here right now to think about that. What is your fear around asking for what you believe is a fair fee? Why do you continue to accept less than you want or even ask? I want you to think about it because as we're going through this conversation and you guys are thinking about these things, put it in the comments because I will go back and look at the comments. Okay, so I'm going to start by asking TT a question. And the question is this: what has been the biggest challenge for you in asking for money?
That's a good question. One of the biggest that I recognized was that I assumed that I didn't need to ask. That's number one. I assumed that I didn't have to ask for the rate because I just assumed that they knew that once I was done, I quote the rate and that was going to be it. Now, unbeknownst to me, there is an order to being an artist and providing the services, whether it's on set or with personal clients, right? But because, again, I didn't understand the dynamics of what it all encompassed, the time, the travel, the travel, the supplies, right? Time, travel, and supplies, or supplies, time, and travel. All of those things encompass what the rate is supposed to be. I didn't have that fixated in my brain.
And let me add one thing: experience. Oh, huge.
Let's my experience, because I'm already a nail professional, right? We're not talking about, ladies and gentlemen, we're not talking about today, Titilayo. I'm going back to when I began and when I connected with Crystal in 2010. I came in a nail tech and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna learn about packaging my portfolio, and I'm gonna go from making $25 per client to a ginormous amount of money because I've taken her course. Didn't have what I just expressed to you guys in my toolbox. I didn't have that. What I had was, I'm tired of where I am. I want to make more, and this is my ticket.
That's good. Right. And so what was the challenge though? Once you took my class, once you, one, read the Hair, Makeup, and Fashion Styling Career Guide, two, you took my class, now you know more than you did. What do I always say? You don't know what you don't know. And whatever you don't know is costing you time, money, or both. But we're talking about a situation where you got to a place where you did know, but you still weren't asking.
Because it was too much work. I had to unpack with reading the book, not all at the time, not completing the knowledge from the book, not implementing the knowledge in the book effectively, put me in a space of not having a voice to ask. See, I have to share that because that was me, has been me. Now, here I am facing myself because, you know, you cannot go from A to Z in the span of 24 hours.
Right.
It's taken me time to get to this place where I literally had to do it out of not knowing what the outcome would be by asking, having a conversation. First of all, it's a conversation.
Right.
It's a conversation. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I love the word conversation because there's a difference between a conversation and a confrontation. There's a difference between a conversation and a negotiation, right? So I think that a lot of times people jump in their heads from having the conversation and asking the questions is going to lead to a confrontation. Or I'm not prepared to negotiate. Not being prepared to negotiate goes back to like what you were saying about the book. If you read the book, but you didn't read all of it, you read some of it, but you're not really implementing it, you still don't have, the tools are sitting there in front of you, but the tools have to be used. And if you're not using the tools, if you're not practicing, then you still don't have what you need. The last thing I'll say about that is that people don't come out the womb as great negotiators.
No.
So if your expectation is the first time you try it, it's going to go perfectly. And when it doesn't go perfectly, you stop trying, you still lose.
You're back to square one.
You're back to square one because the process is to go for it and try it, find out what works and doesn't work, and the next time take what does work and apply it again and keep applying it until not only are you more knowledgeable, but you're more comfortable with being uncomfortable.
So those are absolutely wonderful. I just have to say this. I had to be very comfortable with being myself first.
Talk about that.
That within itself has been one of the blocks in me asking. It's like, first of all, I didn't know myself. I just thought that I'm just, I'm a tool, for lack of a better word. And in connecting with you through the book, I recognized I needed more than just sitting in I needed more than just reading the book. I needed to understand what it was that was in the book that's going to help me understand the dynamics. Like, yes, you give perfect, because some people can take a book and fly. Some of us need more. I needed more. I needed to be in the front so I can ask questions. But even when I was asking questions, I didn't understand that I asked questions to understand my thought process. So when I would ask questions and I wasn't getting the response to my question, I wouldn't ask anymore. So now that I understand that about myself, I'm going to ask questions until there are no more questions to ask, whether you like it or not.
Right.
So that's the part that I had to become comfortable with myself, because I ask questions until there are no more questions to be asked for me to understand. Are you talking about? Yeah, we're talking about Crystal Wright's book and how Crystal Wright's book has helped me get to this point of where I am in my life, personally and business. And that literally, I just had a situation where me having a conversation about something that I have been uncomfortable with for years has unleashed this other side of me that's not returning. Like, I am no longer going to be afraid to just ask a simple question. I'm no longer going to be in a place to stand in my truth of, I am a woman that provides services in an industry that is $1 billion industry that feeds not just myself, it feeds a plethora of amazing men and women. And it's about knowing who you are, having knowledge of what you are doing and how to go about doing it effectively, that everybody wins.
Right.
And so knowing the challenges that I've faced of not asking has been the root cause of my own demise. So the root cause of me not asking was that 33 years ago, my son's father told me, and I don't have, let's pretend that this is a $50 bill. And I am 21 years old and I'm raising a child. And I go to the person that I had been impregnated by. And I say to him, I need money for Pampers and milk. And he said, you see this $50 right here? You ain't getting it. I literally faced someone that told me he wasn't going to give me what I needed. And from there, it grew a root of fear of asking for what I want, for what I need. And when when I got that revelation, and I shared that with Crystal a few nights ago, I was like, that was it, Crystal. That has been my chokehold of asking when it comes to providing services locally. That has been it for when I have I don't have that block with my agent. I have an amazing agent, Holly. She's on here. We have a wonderful relationship, but over time I had to build that because she is my source of connecting with a lot of these jobs that I've done. So it will behoove me, right, to be business and respectful. But that has not been an easy feat for me. But the root of it has been my son's father telling me $50 I would not get. And I'm going to tell you guys, I didn't get any type of financial support from him, nor have I collected child support, nor did I get emotional support. And that was just one of the root causes. But I'm better today because I've been working on myself over time through taking classes, just trying to make sure that I am as effective as possible because I want to be successful. I want to do these things that I see in my mind. I want to be on all of these sets. You know why? Because I love it.
Right.
And enjoy it. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, one of the things I was going to say, because you and I have talked about this before, but when you talked about really not being yourself and how not being yourself and not being comfortable with yourself, even though you had all this knowledge, how it manifested on set with you overcompensating for what was going on, for what you felt like you were missing in here. You were overcompensating. And can you just share that with them?
What part? You mean when I used to dance all the time?
Yes, when you used to dance all the time.
Okay, so before this explosion of Instagram dancing, I used to dance on set with my colleagues, sort of like a distraction, because I didn't want them to see me. Because I was afraid of what they would think, because I thought that they saw what I had experienced. So I was trying to overcompensate when all I had to just do was just get on set and just connect. I had a hard time with that. And Crystal will call it out every time. And I was like, what is she talking about? And it almost caused me to miss out on the connection that I have now with Crystal and many other people, because they saw something that I closed my eyes to. I was like, this is working for me, but that's not working. That wasn't working. It worked, but it didn't really work. Or did it work? But when I looked into it, I said, oh. It's almost like putting on a show when they didn't ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't ask for the show. They asked for a nail professional to come on set, provide the services, and that's it. That's all. Go sit in the corner if that's what you're going to do. But just stay out of the mix of what everybody is doing.
Right. And it's just that if that really had been who you were, it wouldn't have looked so uncomfortable when it was going on. And the thing is, when I called you about it, I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? Because, and at the time, you couldn't tell me I'm uncomfortable with me. I'm afraid they won't like me just by myself, who I am. And it was finding out that you are fabulous all by yourself. You don't have to do that. You don't have to put on, you can just go and show up. But let's move on now to some of the steps in this transition from having a negative self-image to becoming a confident, successful businesswoman. Because all of that leads up to what happened last week.
Yeah.
All of that leads up to what happened last week. So can you share just some of the steps, like the think about it as awareness. When did the awareness start kicking in and you started changing and you started becoming more aware that there is more? Because this thing that just happened is a big awareness that there's a lot more.
Yes. Okay. So it's true when they say now knowledge is power. I began to read materials that helped me to look on the outside of me, on in addition to having relationships with yourself, having relationships with other people that don't have the fear of showing me. And so the thing that kept coming up was conversations of people telling me it's okay with what they're doing to me. And in all actuality, it was hurting me. Like I was feeling when people use certain words, it sent a signal to my heart. And then when I understood, that's a nudge to say, how do you feel? How does that make you feel? Does it make you happy? Does it make you uncomfortable? If it doesn't make you happy, doesn't make you comfortable, then ask, what do you mean by what you're saying? So I can get clarity, so I'm able to respond. So
and now, are you talking about on set?
On set,
Off set?
Offset.
And so let me just see if I can get some clarity out of that, because I think a lot of times, it doesn't matter whether you're a hairstylist, a makeup artist, a fashion stylist, or a manicurist. It's important to understand that when somebody says they don't like something, they're not saying, I don't like you. And sometimes they're using the only words that they have and that they know in a short period of time, which is this 8-hour photo shoot, where they need to get out of you what they hired you for so that they can move on to the next shot. They don't spend time trying to figure out how to say it to you so you're going to like it. And so when they say, I just don't like it, it's not a signal that they don't like you. All it is a signal that requires one thing, and that is a question. What don't you like?
I love it. I love that you said that, because it brought me back to when I was doing a Coca-Cola shoot back in 2016 for 25 days. And there was a moment where I was doing nail art, and the campaign was about 4th of July. And I was doing stars, and I wasn't that affluent with hand painting stars. So my the producer said, I don't like it. And I knew that she wasn't saying she didn't like me, because I've been on the set a long time and they had switched out artists for weeks. The only person that was consistent on set was Tita Layo, the photographer, and the food staff, the food stylists. So I had the opportunity in that moment to say, well, what don't you like? Right? Because I didn't feel the fear that I was going to be replaced.
Right.
So in me asking that question, I was able to get clarity for myself so that I can properly, effectively do what they ask, or find a way to do it.
Okay. And so that right there is a step. That is a step in the right direction of getting so you can ask without the fear of being dismissed, because getting so you can ask the question there helps you later on to even ask the bigger question. So let's talk about the situation that just happened, because that's why we're here. What makes this situation so different from all the others where money was at stake? What was at stake that gave you the courage to face and advocate for yourself in this time? Now, before you answer that question, let me say this. There have been many times when I have said to TT, they have the money. They have the money. I mean, over the years, you should be getting the money for your fuel if you're going to drive up there. You should be getting the money for the train if you're going to go there. One of two things is happening. If it's you talking directly with the client, then you're feeling the fear of asking them. if it's your agent, and I know your agent might be on here, but this is just me. If your agent is not asking or not pushing the envelope because the agent feels fear that by asking, it's going to unravel everything else. When I was an agent, I was never afraid to ask. I only had one instance, one time, when Nico got a job. His rate was $12.50. I'd only been representing him about a month, and I just made this his rate. And when we got a call, it was either CoverGirl or Victoria's Secret or something like that. They said, "What's his rate?" And I said, $2,500. And they said, "Oh, okay." And I went, I left his money on the table. So I've never been afraid to ask. So to me, having worked with productions all this time, having pushed the envelope all the time, to the point that when he would fly from LA to New York, I would get him $1,750. Why? Well, if he's flying for you, he can't be working for someone else, right? So a situation has happened, and the reason I brought that up is because I'm always pushing you. You need to get this. You need to get that. It's there. They have the money. Somebody's got to ask for it. So now you're in this situation. Tell them what happens and what was the straw that broke the camel's back, not yours.
Okay, so there's a situation where I was hired to take care of a client, and the client was the client didn't know who I was, but either way, I was summoned by an agent, and the agent reached out to me via text, and we went back and forth via text, and they kept asking me my rate, so I gave them my rate. And in me giving them my rate, they were like, "Okay, well, do you know any other nail professionals?" And for me, I don't particularly bring other people on a job that I'm going to work on if I don't know them. And because I understand the importance of representation and to be asked to return, whether it's with them or somebody else or being referred. So everyone doesn't have that type of makeup. So I kept saying, "No, I don't. No, I don't." However, I said, okay, here's an opportunity for me to extend and expand my brand. And so what I did was I reached back and asked my two mentees to join me on this quest. And so I had to negotiate their rates. So their rates were being negotiated by me. And I negotiated my own rate, but they just kept trying to negotiate it down, and they were not being as clear as they should have been with me when I was asking the questions. And so I left the text blank. When I left the text blank, she kept asking me questions, and I said, "Well, for the rate that you're asking me and the rate that I'm requiring, it's not adding up. It's not going to be beneficial." And I didn't have this conversation with them. I was saying to myself, it's not going to be beneficial for me, nor for my assistants, my mentees. It has to be beneficial for me, and it has to be beneficial for my mentees, because we're going to go on a Sunday, which we should be getting paid a time and a half because it's a Sunday. And then we got to get travel and then our kit fees. So the next day I just picked up the phone because I learned from Crystal that sometimes silence is good. It gives people an opportunity to think about what just transpired. Dead silence is not the time to fill in lettuce, tomatoes, and scrambled eggs. Don't do it. Keep it quiet. If it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, don't say nothing, because you're the one that's being requested. You're not requesting. And you've given them everything for them to make a decision. So the next day I picked up the phone And then I realized, oh my God, I thought it was this person I was talking to, not realizing who I was talking to. Then I said, oh, this is interesting. Okay. Then I kept talking. And then because we were talking and we were hearing instead of texting, because in text, you're going to miss a whole component. Because you cannot properly estimate or articulate what's needed. Yeah, right. And so the way that the job was presented to me, it was presented to me as if it was going to be an ad campaign. It wasn't presented to me as I was going in to help this particular client to handle herself during a job that she's uncomfortable with. And I'm being very careful with this information because I don't know who's listening.
Okay, right on. Because, I'm trying, I'm like, wait a minute. But okay, I get it.
I don't know who's listening.
Okay, so go ahead.
So at the end, once I understood, I said, okay, TT, what is the least amount of money you're willing to take?
And I hate that question. Go ahead.
This is what I asked myself.
Right.
Sunday, this is the least amount. Because at this point, it's a factor. Do you want this for your resume, or do you want this for, is it for your resume, or is this going to be for your site? I don't know. Some things are for either your resume, for your site, or you just want something to do just to get to stay acclimated with whatever it is that you do. So I decided to go ahead and move forward. But then she kept pressing me for the additional nail tax. And I said, okay, cool. Let me make a call. So I made a call, and both of my mentees agreed.
Okay. So TT, I want you to speed up a little bit.
Okay.
Because let's get to the fact that you decided to do the job.
Right.
You brought the mentees on as your assistants. So let's call them assistants now. And the rate was agreed upon.
Mm-hmm.
And you executed the job. But tell them regarding the rate and what you told the assistants about when they were going to get paid, because that's important as the day approached. Go ahead.
So, okay, yeah, I like telling the story, but okay. So everything was negotiated. I submitted the invoice. Before I submitted the invoice, I made sure that my assistants knew and understand that net 30 is standard. However, there are going to be times that most production companies or most people don't always meet that. They go over.
Right.
And that's what happens. I don't always control that. Well, anyways, I submitted the invoice and it was agreed upon. And then I submitted the invoice for my assistants separately, which I couldn't understand that. Everything should have been submitted together. Mm-hmm. When it was time for me to get paid, I got a text saying, or email saying that the money will be here last month. I was like, what about my assistants? They were like, all of a sudden it was, and I said, okay. I said, this is it, submit it. I didn't have any point of contact for the clients to get my invoice for my assistant submitted. Mm-hmm. So that particular person that I was going between should have submitted everything together. This is when I learned I had to advocate, or else I was going to have to pay my assistants myself. that was a very uncomfortable feeling. I have never felt that type of anxiety in my life. So I had to place a call. And when I placed the call, I had the conversation. When I had the conversation, that individual was hemming and hawing. And in her hemming and hawing, she guaranteed that that never would happen. We would never not pay if you did it this way. They just kept giving me a particular story. Fine, no problem. And I listened. I hung up the phone. Then there it is. They informed me my money is on the way. I said, my assistance? Oh, we sent the email. Let me forward you the email. And that's when I realized you're not advocating for me. You're advocating for yourself. So I had to advocate not only for myself, but for my assistants. And then I also recognized if they weren't going to fulfill that invoice, I was going to no longer work with them, number one. But then I was going to have to pay my assistants because it's not fair to them because they trusted me.
Right. So this is what's important, because I want you to talk a little bit about the conversation that you had and how the person that you were dealing with at that other agency was trying to turn you into the angry Black woman.
Okay.
That's important.
It is.
Because it is a point where you were able to maintain your calm by listening, but then by making it clear what had transpired, and then you had to go to the next level. All of this is important, especially for Black women, because we're always called the angry Black woman.
Okay, let me do this. That's true. I had a conversation with a woman that is not a woman of color. Mm-hmm. I've been a woman of color all of my life. There was a point in time that I wanted to be a white woman because I wanted my life to be seamless. Let me tell you something. At that moment, I had to pull in all of the materials that I've read over time and recognize that it is power in silence. It is power in listening. The power that I was able to pull, which I had been so afraid of, was to actually say, I understand what you are saying. However, it does not dismiss the fact that I submitted an invoice of services rendered. And what she said to me was, it don't have to be negative. Can you tell me where the negative lies in requesting for my invoice to be paid?
Right. And that was the microaggression. You don't have to be negative. In other words, you just asking for what was owed to you, and the fact that they had messed up the invoice. Now they want to make it about what you're saying to them because you have an expectation, and now they're turning it into something else. And this is really important because everything that you've learned from me, like you always say, everything I learned from you, Crystal, at that moment came right in here, and I just remained calm.
I did. The moment I wanted to take my finger and hit that jugular. But I had to tell myself, you gonna get your money? Are you going to get your money if you take her jugular? Absolutely not. I had this conversation with myself. Be mindful of what you say to yourself in the moment of anxiety. Be careful with what you say to yourself in the moment of transitioning. So I'm here to say, once I said that, it wasn't a good 48 hours. I got my money with interest.
Right. And it's important to say what you said to me, and what I deduced was that at the moment that you hadn't gotten the right amount of money, and you recognize that what was at stake was your own reputation with the two assistants that you had brought on. That's what was at stake. What was at stake was TT's reputation with the assistants, that she had promised them that they would get paid in a certain amount of time, even though the certain amount of time is, the freelance time, where it's not going to be 30 days. It could be a little bit longer than that. But TT didn't want to pass over the threshold, because your brand is what other people say about you. Your brand is what other people are saying about you when you're not around, when they're telling other people. And on her first occasion of hiring two assistants, she could not afford to not pay them on time and have them have something negative to say about her brand. She was willing to go into her pocket to do it, but instead, she maintained her calm. She didn't let up, but she laid back when she needed to, but she kept going in and asking for what was rightfully hers. And the reason that I wanted to have this conversation with TT and let you guys know is because now you can't put the genie back in the bottle. It only takes a lot of time. This is a defining moment. It's like with my coaching program. When every single week my clients have to answer like 10 questions, and one of them is, was there anything you could or should have done differently? Another one is, did you have any defining moments? And this for TT was a defining moment that let her know she did have the strength. She does have the strength to ask for what she wants, to stand her ground without the ground shaking, to get comfortable with being uncomfortable until the space that you're in starts to feel normal, like it's something you do all the time. In having to advocate for other people that had helped her, but then she is now serving by sending out an invoice on their behalf. She became stronger in helping somebody else to get what she had promised them, but also what they deserved. Right?
Yes.
Isn't that it?
That's it in the nutshell. And I mean, for all of you guys that are listening, I'm no different than anybody. And in this situation that just transpired for me, and it's the key word for me, it opened up another avenue of me understanding who I am. I'm not a threat. I'm not a threat. I'm not a threat. And no is anyone else a threat to me. It's just something that I just had not exercised. I didn't exercise. Now that I'm exercising it, instead of just hearing it in my head, I'm implementing it. And it, like she said, it gets easier. Like I have conversations with my agent on a regular basis. We talk about different things. And I have learned that over time, this relationship has evolved. So now I'm no longer fearful having these conversations. I'm not afraid to. I wouldn't pick up the phone to call my agent, guys. I would just respond via email or text. Now I pick up the phone. Do you know how important that is to connect with people? Now, I don't know how it left the other person that we just talked about, how it left her, but I did thank her in the end for not only taking the time to take my call, but to actually listen to what I had to say. Because in her listening, I was able to get the issue resolved. And
Right.
now I really feel seen and heard. Because that's the other thing. I didn't feel like I was being seen or heard.
Right.
So
because you weren't.
Huh?
Because you weren't.
I wasn't being heard, but listen, I was going down with that shit, meaning I was paying my assistants because it's not fair to them.
It's not fair to them. And of course you would pay your assistants. I mean, I know that, but
yeah,
I'm glad that you didn't have to. But the other thing was, because one of the things that I've been teaching forever is doing a deal memo, following it up with an invoice, including a late fee on the unpaid balance if it's not paid on time. If too much time goes by, sending, following up with phone calls, and then sending a certified letter return receipt. And the thing that you said is, and this is the thing that everybody has to realize, it's just business. It's business. And I don't think a lot of people know what that means.
Right.
In every business, every time you use your credit card, there is an exchange, there is a deal, there's a deal that you're being offered, and then there's a payment involved. And when you start to realize that you're submitting a deal memo to confirm the terms and conditions, days, dates, and rates under which you're going to work on this particular assignment, and then submitting an invoice at the end because there might be overtime and other things that were incurred while the job was going on, is standard business procedure. And everybody that you're talking to that's in a position of decision making on those jobs is also submitting their invoice.
Right.
So while you're sitting there being afraid, the producer is submitting his invoice to the executive producer or somebody else, and he's not afraid.
Right.
He's not afraid. This fear of adding overtime on your invoices, the fear of submitting the invoices, the fear of asking questions, the idea that you're asking too many questions. Just yesterday on TikTok, somebody asked me a question, and they prefaced it with, I know this is a stupid question, but, and my response was, don't you ever say that again. Don't say that. There are no stupid questions. If you need the question answered in order to move to the next place on the chessboard, right, then you need to get the question answered. Otherwise, you're going to be in checkmate. You're going to be in checkmate. TT, what will change about the way you navigate challenges and uncomfortable conversations in the industry moving forward? What would you say? What is going to change about the way you navigate challenges and uncomfortable conversations going forward? Can you put your finger on what will change?
What will change is I'm just going to ask questions and listen.
Right.
Ask more than I answer.
Right. Ask more questions than you answer, and listen more than you talk. The other thing that I would say is be prepared. Don't wait until you get on the phone to try to remember what the questions are. Write the questions down. Look at this. I was up last night. What do you guys think? You think that just because this is Instagram Live, I just show up with my ass swinging in the wind? No, look, here's the outline for introducing TT. Here are the questions I had on here. I know my ink on my printer is jacked up. These are the questions I had to ask. Why? Because I'm here so you guys will get something out of this. I'm here so that I'm not getting paid for this. I'm here because I want you guys to be more courageous in your businesses. I want you to do better. I want you to make more money. I want you to have more success. So I prepare like a pro. And that's what I want you to do. Sit down and think about what you're going to say. Think about what the other person might say back and what one response is if they say this thing and another response is if they say this other thing. I do want to address the question, hold on, that, oh, here it is. Shadera asked a question. She said, when I said, what is your fear around asking for a fair fee? She said that I underrate or lowball myself in my fare, or I ask for too much. And here's the thing, if you're not used to asking, you have to start with something. You have to just start with something. And you can start somewhere by increasing your rate by, let's say, $100 or even $50, because the objective is to get comfortable with the asking. You don't have to start by upping your rate $1,000 and feeling like, you know, your head is about to split open. If you say, you know what, I'm going into 2024, I'm going to raise my rate by $100, and I'm going to keep that rate for 90 days, and I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to see what works. I'm going to see what doesn't work. And then if that works, and basically you're going to raise your rate for new clients. Okay?
Right.
For new clients. And then, because you don't want to lose the money you already have coming in, because that's just going to freak you out. I know that. So you start with new clients, and then for this, that's Q1, January, February, March. If it's comfortable, if in your head really you think you should be making $350 more a day, start with 100. When you go to Q2, go up another 100. When you get to Q3, go up another 100. By then, you have had the conversations with various clients back and forth until you're comfortable asking for more money, right? Negotiating for more money. And it's really important that you guys know what you can ask for. You know, you should know that if you have to drive more than 30 miles, they're prepared to pay for the mileage unless you don't ask for it. Okay? If you're going to be doing a job that's going to go late at night and you have to drive 3 hours to get there, they're prepared to pay for you to stay overnight in a hotel unless you don't ask for it. Right?
Right.
And my audience is typically between about, well, my audience starts at 24 to 54. And I think the 24-year-olds or maybe up to like the 30-year-olds are the millennials. But I just heard Simon Sinek, who wrote the book, what is it called? Something Why. But Simon Sinek wrote the book. Somebody knows what that book is called. Something Why. Finding Your Why or something like that.
Right.
And he was talking I saw it on TikTok last night. He was talking about how the people before that are coming after millennials, they would rather quit their job than ask for a raise, right? They would rather quit their job than ask for a raise. Is that the craziest thing?
It is.
And he said, if they had just said to me, you know, I want more money, I would have given it to them. But they didn't ask. You have not because you asked not. So, in answer to Shadara's question, start somewhere, increase by 100 or 50 every 3 months with new clients. Half the battle is in asking. What's the question, not the answer? After the client says, and then what's the question after the client says, no, that's too much? It's not an answer that you give when the client says, no, that's too much. It's a question that you have to ask to dig a little deeper. Okay? And it can be a simple question like, well, what did you expect to pay? Right? Well,
Right.
I only thought it was going to be this much, and maybe the difference is $50. Then you can decide. You're going to get 50 more. You maybe you ask for 100 more, and the client said, well, I thought it was only going to be this, and it's 50 less. You can decide at that moment if you want to take the 50 less because it's still 50 more than what you normally get. Because you have to start somewhere. That's what I'm trying to get you guys to do. Okay, so let's answer some questions. You guys, first of all, I love it that you showed up. I love it that there's so much conversation going on here. So I'm going to try to go back to the beginning and come with the questions because I am just loving that you guys are here. Let's see. Let me see. Good morning. Hello, everybody. Hi, Holly. Nice to meet you. I see you're aged here, TT.
Yes.
Let's see. Sending love and hugs from New York. That's Barbara. Allegra. Reminding me it was Kerry Washington. See a lot of people. My fear regarding asking for a fair is not knowing what the job rate is. Okay, my first question is, do you have the hair, makeup, and fashion styling career guide? Because in the hair, makeup, and fashion styling career guide, there is a page in there called Show Me the Money. And in that section, it gives you a range of what the typical job is worth. That is your starting point. Ask for anything in there, and it's probably not going to be too much. But what I want you to get to is even if you ask for a number and it's too much, it doesn't mean that the client is going to walk away from the table. But if you throw something out there and they don't get back to you, guess what? Your hands are not tied. Your feet are not tied. You can pick up the phone and call and say, hey, we talked the other day and I gave you a number. I didn't hear back from you. Have you decided to go in a different direction? Or is this something we can talk about?
That part.
That part. Can we talk about it? Okay. Let's see. Fear of missing out on any money, being judged, looking down upon, told I'm difficult, and not being able to work to do what I love. Oh, honey, I wish you were here so I could give you a big old hug. Beauty by Dale LC or by Day LLC. So here's the thing. Let me tell you something. One of the things that money buys you is choice. And I always say, stop spending money you don't have on things you can't afford and start putting your money in the bank, because having money in the bank is what gives you the freedom to make different decisions. It gives you the freedom to say no to a rate you don't want to take while you prospect for better clients. Now, there's another thing. have to be actively seeking out new clients. Put your money in the bank, work for the people you're working for, seek out new clients who can pay you more money, and the money that you have gives you the freedom and the power to say no to the things you don't want to do. As far as being judged or being looked down upon, the question you have to ask yourself is that really happening, or is it just happening in your head?
Right.
Is it a belief system that happened when you were younger in a situation like the one TT had, where her son's father told her he wasn't going to help her, and then that was the catalyst for her to stop asking? And I'll tell you something, because it reminded me of something. When my first husband and I were together, it's funny because he always said, "You never asked me for anything." And that's because I had put my car in the shop or something, and I needed him to go to the bank for me. And I asked him to go to the bank for me. The car ended up being in the shop a little bit longer than I expected. Maybe it was 4 days instead of the 2 days they originally said. And I have money coming in every day, and the money needed to go in the bank. And on the third day, he said to me, "How much longer am I going to have to do this?" And I looked at him, and I took the envelope out of his hand. I said, "You don't have to do it now." And I never asked him to do another thing for me. And that was dumb. Because what I should have said was, "You'll do it until I don't need you to do it anymore. Go to the bank." But the thing is, sometimes people say stuff like that to us, and we internalize it to the point that it is to our detriment.
Yeah.
It is to our detriment. You know why? Because we get inside our feelings, and we take it on as not being worthy of somebody doing something for us, and now we project that onto everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And it doesn't serve you. It didn't serve me. And years later, when my husband said to me, "You don't need me, you never needed me." And I said, "I didn't need you, but I did want you. But when I did need you and I asked for your help, this is what you said. And so I never asked you for anything again." And he was absolutely stunned, because it just really wasn't that big a deal. And I was the one that made it a big deal, because that was my chosen response.
Mm-hmm.
And my response could have been, "Take this to the bank and get out of here." That would have ended the whole thing. So ask yourself, are you really being judged, or are you judging yourself because of something that happened? And when somebody tells you you're difficult, you know what you should say to them? Smile. Because this is my way to smile, raise my shoulders up and go, "Difficult in what way?" Because when somebody says we're difficult, it puts us into a space usually where we tense up, we get angry, it changes the way our face looks. And what you have to do is in that moment say, "You know what? I'm going to go someplace different." What do you mean by that? Right?
Right.
Look for ways to diffuse other people trying to put you in a trick bag. Okay? Let's see. My who, when I see people's names and it's not their real names, it's hard for me. Malens. What's her name, TT?
Shahari.
No, not Shahari.
Shalara.
Not Shalera.
Oh, Lord.
Shira.
Shira, yes. Sorry. All these shares.
My fear is that clients will tell me I am overpriced. At the same time, I know clients have paid my rate and were happy with my work. So here's the thing, Shira. Not everybody is your client.
That
You got
part.
it, right? When you recognize that not everybody is your client, that is the reason why you have to be out prospecting so that you can find more of the people who are your client, so you don't have to worry about somebody telling you you're overpriced. But if somebody does say you're overpriced, you can just say to them, well, I do know that I'm a little bit more expensive some of the other people, but remember what I taught you in Win Now. The next place that you go to is, but you know what? These are, and start listing some of the reasons why the people who have paid your rate pay your rate. See, because sometimes Ronald Graves, hi, honey, because sometimes what you really need to do is take the time to educate them, because they don't know how the service that you offer is different from the people who are charging less. And it is your job and your responsibility to educate them so they want to give you more money. And I'll tell you something that Rennie said in class. He said, it was something about this very topic. When somebody says, oh, that's more expensive, and his response was, what was his response in class, TT?
I can't remember.
He said, well, shoot, I can't get the sentence right. If somebody says it's more expensive, you say to them, well, what are they offering you for that price? What are they offering you for that price? And no matter what they say, all you have to say is, oh yeah, that's very different from what I'm doing. Or that's very different from what I'm offering. Basically, and you don't use the word offering twice. But you say, well, really, what are they giving you for that price? Oh yeah, that's a totally different service. That's totally different than the luxury service that I provide for my brides. And then shut up and say nothing else until they go, then they start wondering, well, what are you doing that's different? You see what I'm saying? So the thing is, but you have to practice that the same way, because I don't have to say that. I couldn't off the top of my head, but if you write it down and say it enough times, pretty soon it'll become second nature to you. Okay, let's see what else we got. Elaine says, I'm in the union 2 years as a licensed barber, but I'm also a certified makeup artist, and I do all types. I assume being in the union only 2 years, I have to earn my worth, but I got my days to join as a key makeup artist. Well, first of all, the union negotiates the rate. It's a contract. My understanding is that it's a contract, and unless you are a celebrity request, the union negotiates the contract, and everybody gets, the key people get a certain rate, the department head gets a certain rate, the assistants, who are called first and seconds, get a certain rate when you're in the union. It's only outside that you can get what the market will bear. Okay? And the other thing is, well, I won't go into that, but there you go, Elaine. That's the deal. I don't think it has anything to do with how long you've been in the union. Hi, Raven. It doesn't, hi, Yancy, anything to do with how long you've been in the union. And there are lots of union people here who could speak up. Yancy could answer that question. Who else is on here that's in the union? I saw some more union people in here. Let me see. Are you talking about Crystal's book now? Yes, we're talking about my book. I'm Crystal. Yes, we're talking about the book. Moonshine sure does. I thank God I'm there. Okay. Let's see. Hi, Amy. Hi, Dominique. I see you guys are like saying yes to something that was said. TT, you become more and more of an inspiration every day. That's your baby Shira.
Oh, thank you.
Let's see. Thank you for being transparent. Thank you for inspiring me to keep going and growing. That's what I'm talking about.
I wanted to add to that when you continue to evolve in your craft, that's when you have more power, additional power and strength to negotiate your rates. It's
No. And what I was going to say about that, I'm sorry for cutting you off, TT, and it's because you have more confidence.
And it costs. It costs for you to expanding your knowledge. That's not free. You're not a YouTuber. Wherever you get, if you're investing in yourself as a business person, rates are going to increase automatically. You know, you have the confidence to negotiate. You're not here to squeeze the lemon till the lemon is dry because you want to return to the lemon. But the reality is, just like you're investing, they're investing as well. So they're investing in you because they know that you're going to provide them with what they need. And if once you look at it in that way, and I had to learn that, you are able to have that confidence and then build that bridge.
Right. And you know, one of the things I'll say as you were saying that, TT, is one of the differences between men and women is that men talk about the things that enhance their abilities, and women a lot of times won't say. In other words, if you just took a class that makes you better and more experienced, nobody's going to know it unless you say
Right.
it. And you don't have to say, I just took a class. You could say something like, well, you know, I'm really excited. I think I'm perfect for this job because I just gained some new experience with A, B, and C. And it looks like to me, from what you shared with me, that's going to be really helpful to you on set for this job. And the other thing is to talk to, when you're talking to people, remember what TT said earlier, that the negotiation is simply a conversation, not a confrontation.
Right.
And if you turn it into a conversation, it opens up the door for you to talk to the producer about more things other than just the rate. That's the reason for saying, can you tell me a little bit more about the job? Because the more you learn about the job, the more you can speak to the producer about how you're a perfect fit for the job. How are you a perfect fit? It's not because you went to Aveda.
Ooh.
Right? You're a perfect fit for the job because of experiences you've had on other jobs, things you've learned, things you've applied. And you've got to be able to talk to producers about how what you know is going to help them solve problems on the set.
And
one of the questions I don't think artists ask enough when you're talking to a producer is, well, what kinds of problems have you had in the makeup department in the past? What kinds of problems have you had with hair in the past? Because as soon as they tell you, you can then turn around and tell them how you are a perfect fit and how you're going to solve that for them.
right.
That is what people will pay extra for. Okay? Allegra says, I think a lot of times we make it too personal rather than business when it comes to decisions about money. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Crystal, please inform us regarding the Freelance Isn't Free Act. Oh, well, that's a law that came in. Now, I'm not sure if that law is everywhere, but I think for sure that that law is in New York, right? The Freelance Isn't Free Act is about getting paid and getting paid on time. But at the end of the day, as a freelancer, you still have to invoice. And here's the thing about sending in an invoice. If you send in an invoice and the invoice is net 30 days, why are you waiting till the 30th day to call and see if the invoice is going to be paid? You should be calling on the 20th day. And the thing you need to say is, I'm just calling to follow up to make sure you guys have everything that you need to pay me on time. Okay. Let's see. Run me my coins. Akua says, stop playing. Applaud your professionalism. Yep. Good for you for keeping calm and advocating for you and your assistants. Yes, TT. Let's see. I see some exactly, so that means that they were getting it. Does anybody have any other questions? I love you, Crystal and TT. Thank you so much. You're so welcome.
You're welcome.
Sharing your experiences.
Quana said, TT and Miss Crystal, what are your thoughts on an agency versus having a manager versus joining the union? Crystal could talk about that all day long, but I'm going to say this from my personal experience. Crystal equips you to know who you are, what you do, and how you go about it. Having an agent is beneficial because there are a lot of, when your catalog of clientele grows, as an artist, you need someone that's going to help maintain and negotiate on your behalf integrally. The only way that's going to happen is that you have to know what to look for and what is being offered. And you have to have that relationship with either your manager, your agent, and I don't know about a union, I can't speak on that. I can only speak on the agency part. Because I know for me, when I got my agent, I've been with my agent since 2013. I got comfortable. And you cannot be comfortable. You have work to do as an artist. You have to do your due diligence and knowing what the workings are in order to get the job. You have to effectively reach out to other production agencies, producers. You have to seek out your work as well and share that information with your agent because it's a partnership. If you don't, what I've learned, you're not a priority.
That you get the leftovers.
I don't like leftovers. So with
that,
which is why for me, I had to formulate my brand properly. I had to do that. The Global Manicurist, that's my brand. Again, I have an agent. I love my agent. Holly represents. We have a great relationship. I understand. She has a part to play. I have a part to play. As an artist, you have to ask yourself, are you a priority? When you initially get with an agent, you're not the priority. You might be a filler because there are other agents, there are other artists on the roster. Depending on where you fall, you have to put the work in. You got to pay the price. The price is, do you know your worth? Meaning, do you know the importance of connecting, doing your research, fishing for clients, connecting with production companies, packaging yourself to where people want to work with you. People want to know you. Do you understand the frequency that goes on when you're on set? They're not going to hire you because you're a makeup artist. They're not going to hire me because I'm a nail artist. No. Why should they hire you? Why should you be on the roster? As they say, it's enough out here. It's actually more than enough. There are no gatekeepers. Just open yourself up to the possibilities of being a priority. prioritize yourself first.
Mhm.
Put in the work, put in the time, so that you can get the residuals of your time that you put in. It looks different for everybody. Let me just say that. So go ahead,
So
Chris.
I totally agree with what TT said. Totally agree. And in the Hair, Makeup, and Styling Career Guide, the other day, I saw a review on Amazon.com from somebody who got the career guide and said, yeah, this book was good for the 90s. And she bought the book in 2020, but she bought the wrong book. She bought the book that was like 7 years old and then put it up there. I was like, what? So anyway, what I was going to say is TT talked about participating, connecting, looking for clients, which I call prospecting. And the other thing I would add to that is developing good habits. You got to have good habits. You got to have good habits about participating. You got to have good habits about connecting. You got to have good habits about prospecting. What I said in the Hair, Makeup, and Styling Career Guide is the same thing I said when I wrote the very first one to this last one, which is the relationship between an artist and an agent is a partnership. And if you think you're going to go there and just fill out your W-9 form and go home and twiddle your thumbs until you get your $2,000 booking, you got another thing coming. It doesn't work like that. And that's how you end up being filler, because you're not doing anything. Because even though you read what I said in the book and you hear me saying it now, in your mind, you're thinking, yeah, but I'm going to be different. I'm so fabulous that they're just going to be sending me out on all these big, fabulous jobs. And they're like, you're not doing anything. And we have people here who are working hard. So we're going to send them out on the fabulous jobs. When in response to whoever said what's best, a union, an agent, or a manager, it just depends. First of all, if you want to do television and film long term and work on big projects, and you're not living in Texas, which is a right to work state, and I think also Atlanta might be a right to work state, then you're going to want to get in the union. If you want to work on the big stuff, then you're going to want to get in the union. That should be a goal. And if you don't read the career guide, I was on one day listening to somebody's live a couple of years ago, and they were talking about it costs $10,000 to get in the union. I could not even stop myself from saying, that's a lie. Who told you that? It only costs like $3,500 to get in the union. And the reason I have such a problem with misinformation is because when you guys are listening to us, if I give you the wrong information, it could be just so discouraging that you decide not to pursue your goal. If you had saved $3,000 in the bank and you thought it was 35 and somebody comes and tells you it's 10, you're like, oh, I'm never going to get there. I'm not even going to try. So it's important for me to have the right information to give to you. And when you're not sure, you should be going to ask somebody else. Whether you should have a manager or an agent, if you get a manager, your expectation is that they're going to do the same thing for you as an agent at an agency, which is to get you work. Okay? So you have to interview that person to find out what their expertise is and which area they have expertise in so that they can get you that kind of work. It's like when people tell me they're going to get a publicist. I'm like, for what? You're not doing anything newsworthy. Right? If you're not doing anything newsworthy, getting a publicist is a big old waste of money. Okay? Elaine says, I hope that answered whoever's question. But understand this, I've said it before. Agents are not looking for artists who aren't already working. Agencies are not in the business of starting you out. So you have to start yourself out and then take the stuff that you got the products of starting out, which are your tear sheets, your television commercials, the entries on your resume, to show them to an agent to get them interested in you, along
Right.
with your great work habits, your participation, prospecting, connecting, and all of that. Elaine says, I'm in the union 2 years, able to do all hair and makeup types, work several shows. I'm not sure if I'm getting paid right. Well, then go to the union and find out. You cannot be afraid to ask them questions. It's as simple as, let me tell you something. When somebody's explaining something to me I don't understand, I go, I don't understand. You need to explain it to me like I'm a 10-year-old. So you have to ask yourself, what is stopping you from asking the questions? What is stopping you from going to the source, which is the union, to get more information on how this works? The other thing is, it's my understanding that the union has a book, and I would go through that book with a red pen and a highlighter, and I would highlight everything I didn't understand, and I would set up a meeting, and I would go in there and ask all the questions so I understand how to get work. Because the union is not your agent, and they do not get you work. They make work available, but they are not your agent. They are not out advocating for you. Now, does that mean that if you have friends in the union, then people can certainly turn you on to things, and they can certainly help put you up for things, but that's not their job for all of the members in the union. So you need to know that. Let's see here. Dominique, I feel like you don't want to do it. I will do it myself or figure it out. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Dominique. Is it okay to send a second invoice and double the invoice if you were not paid on time due to the Freelance is Not Free Act? Have you read the Freelance is Not Free Act? Does it say you can double your invoice? That's the question. Is it okay to send a second invoice? It is okay to send a second invoice, a third invoice, and a fourth invoice if you have not gotten paid and you are not getting paid on time. Yes, absolutely, 100%. You can send over as many invoices as you want. And you know what else? You know what I want you guys to start doing? I want you to stop asking for permission to collect your money. That's like asking for permission. Is it okay if I send a second invoice? What if I had said no? What if you talk to somebody else and they say no? You need to know that's not true. If you send an invoice, how many times have you, if you've ever sent in a payment and the light company didn't get it, or the phone company didn't get it, or have you ever not paid an invoice and had somebody send you another invoice? Did they call and ask you if they could send you an invoice? No, they just did it. Okay, Tanisha. Hey, y'all. I believe my challenge. I wasn't confident in my ask, but now I understand not to internalize the reason for their no, their loss. Yes. Don't internalize it, because if you internalize the no, it can also mean that you cut off the option to work for that person, for that company. And a no is not a reason not to work for them. Maybe it's the reason not to work for them this time, but it shouldn't stop you from going back. Juliana says, think about when somebody says a foundation is overpriced. You go on and say the benefits of the product and why others are paying. Exactly. That is exactly what I was explaining about this other thing. Juliana put it perfectly. When somebody says a foundation is overpriced, you go on and say the benefits of the product and why other people are paying for it. That's like saying, yeah, I am more expensive, but let me share with you why people don't mind paying the extra money. Okay? Should we use the same approach for productions? I'm not sure what you mean by the same approach, because we're behind you guys in these questions. I go back and forth about, that's why I go back and forth about joining the union. I don't know what you mean. Because the thing is this, while you make less money in the union, you work more days. And you get paid for things like, all those meal penalties and all that stuff. And you might only work 6 hours, but you're guaranteed for a 10-hour day. So they weigh out, and it's, hold on, you guys, I got 10% on my thing. It's about to, I forgot my iPad wasn't plugged up. Ooh. Quickly, I'm gonna lose you guys. Hold on. There we go. So yeah, whatever I was saying. Oh, TT, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
We've been on here for an hour and 30
Oh
minutes.
my God. Okay, you guys, we gotta go. We gotta go, you guys. Oh my goodness.
It was good.
It was good. Was it good, you guys? Was it good?
It was good. I mean, a lot of these questions that you have, we really appreciate. I'm glad that you guys joined. A lot of you guys don't know me. However, I'm on here. You can follow me. Of course, definitely continue to follow Crystal. Please invest in her book. It is very valuable. You can always refer to it. Invest in joining her Win Now mentorship program, which is now available online. You can do it. It's a self process online course, self-paced portal. You can also go to her what's the other one on Facebook?
Oh,
Crystal
In the Zone.
In the Zone with Crystal on Facebook. Let me tell you guys something. We always catch sound bites, and I know a lot of you guys listened to Cat Williams last night. All the things that Cat Williams talked about last night, Crystal does on a consistent basis to empower men and women in this industry to actually be very integral and do not accept anything. Connect with people that are honest, be honest so that things can return to you in an honest way. And don't be afraid to clear out that area in your life that does not serve you. It is okay, because at the end of the day, you want to live your best self, be your best self, so other people can be their best selves. That's all I got to say.
Yes, that was beautiful, TT. Let me just get to this question. I'm a beauty photographer in Los Angeles. If there are any hair and makeup that would like to collaborate, send me a DM. I need new artists and stylists as go-tos. Yay!
Where's that at?
Annika, it's right here. Annika B Creative. Annika, if you go to my Facebook group, which is In the Zone with Crystal Wright, it's all makeup, hair, and stylists. And I'm sure you'll be able to connect with some people there. So please feel free. We've got a couple of photographers in there. I don't want to miss anybody. I just moved to Atlanta. You mentioned right to work. Can you explain more on that, please? Right to work means that you have the right to work on productions, even if it's a union production. If it's happening in states that are right to work, they cannot stop you from working on it. That's what right to work is. Texas is a right to work state. And Aldous Manaya says, yes, the union can help you negotiate contracts. I'm in the union. That is a great piece of information. And what does it mean? It means that you have questions, you need to go to the union to get your questions answered. Why? Because I do know some things about the union. I know how much it costs. I know that you either have to do makeup or hair. There are things I know, but there will obviously be things that I don't know about the union, and you should go to them and ask the questions. And let me tell you something. It's like going to the bank. the first thing I do when I go to the bank is I introduce myself to everybody there. Because if something goes wrong and I need help, I want them to know my name. So if you need help, you should be connecting with those people. Go in, say hello, buy them a coffee, take some donuts, do something. Where's the best place for makeup artists to get jobs and grow further in the beauty industry? Oh no, that's too big a question. Where's the best place for makeup artists to get jobs? That depends on what kind of job you want to get. If you want to do editorial, the best place is to go to magazines because that's what they are. If you want to work on TV commercials, then you got to go to production companies. Salam, you just ordered the Hair, Makeup, and Styling Career Guide. You got to read it. Hi, Erin. Great to see you. Oh, you're so welcome, Jessica. Have you shared this? Oh, Happy, my hair friend, shared this live with me. Hi, Brittany. I think that's what it is. I have her book. Thank you. You're so welcome. Oh my gosh, you guys. Brandon, been following Crystal for years. I actually need to schedule a call. I'm about to relocate and need a session. Well, just give me a call. You can DM me here and I'll send you a link and you can sign up for a half an hour or an hour with me and we can get it worked out. Hi, Urson. Urson is in Turkey, you guys. Lisa, I'm relocating next month and newly local 798. I'm going to send you a DM. Please do. All right, you guys, we're at the end. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful for you guys to start 2024 out with. I'm so glad that you showed up. I'm so glad you hung out with us and you guys didn't get bored for an hour and a half. That is amazing. Amazing. Okay, bye everybody. Remember, In the Zone with Crystal Wright, it's my Facebook group. Come on in. Lots of videos I've already done in there, plenty of things to learn. And I'm so happy to see all of my students show up here from Win Now, from Packaging Your Portfolio, and my private one-on-one coaching. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.